Welcome to Inner Glow, the podcast that helps you to ditch anxiety, judgment, stress, and self doubt, and instead embody ease, confidence, flow, abundance, and self love. I'm your host, Bhavna Meg, mindset and energy coach, and founder of Stepping Into You. I work with individuals just like you on emotional, mental, and energetic levels to help you to fall in love with yourself and glow from the inside out. This is episode 4. Today we're going to be talking about money and the worrywart state that we often get ourselves into about money. I'll be sharing with you limiting beliefs that I became aware of around money and attracting money, and how this was creating sabotage for me within my business. And I'll also draw some parallels to some of my clients' situations where they've experienced limiting beliefs around money too. As always, I'll be sharing a super practical tip on how to move out of the state of worrywart, beginning with creating some self-awareness. So stay tuned all the way to the end to hear that. I feel I've always been really quite lucky with my business and the businesses I've run, and been able to find clients quite quickly and turn a profit very quickly as well. However, I recently realized that I was running some interesting limiting beliefs around my own success. Through most of my childhood years, my teens, and through my 20s, my dad actually ran his own business on and off. He would in the building trade and would start his own building company and do really well at it, and probably run it for a couple of years and be very successful, and decide, as far as I was aware and as far as he would tell us, that it was getting too hard and it was just too much. So he would then go and work for somebody else, which became frustrating for him, working for somebody else. And so he would start his own business again, and that cycle would continue. So what was really interesting was to come to a realization that this was something that I was doing myself. Not necessarily out of choice. I'd run my own business in the UK before I'd come to Australia for a couple of years and did very well in that. My last contract, which was technically through the business, but I had gone in as an employee. But, looking back on it, it's exactly the same routine. I was doing very well in my business and then took an employment job. And then when I came to Australia, I was an employee for some time with my visa situation, and then started running my own business again. And it started really well, and I was doing really well. And then took on a corporate role, took on an employment job, which I was doing part-time for about 6 months, and then added an extra day for another 6 months, and then went full-time for a year. And I realized when I went back full-time into my business that it actually had a massive impact. My momentum had gone with the clients that I'd been speaking with the networking events that I was attending, and with conversations and relationships that I'd started building through coffee meetings or through regular catch-ups that you might do as part of your sales, marketing, and relationship building within a business. The limiting beliefs that I had adopted, learned through my dad in terms of that cycle. But in addition to that, some family beliefs around money came into my awareness after I'd realized I was running this cycle, that the more money I had, the more people I would have in my life that were only there for my money. Now, these were a really interesting bunch of beliefs that I was running. The cycle of, when I am successful, self-sabotaging my business and going into an employed job because it was easier, and then going back into the business and having a bit of struggle, and then making something successful, and then deciding that it was easier to go back into a job. On top of which, running the beliefs of basically not being able to make more money than what I was, because it would lead to me having friends that were not really friends and that were only in my life because of my money. So pretty messed up beliefs, I am aware. But really amazing to have had that awareness. Where the beliefs came from specifically is probably, there's probably a bucket load of things that I would have seen as a kid, but very, very aware that these were patterns that I was operating under. So I created some shifts. I did my subconscious level work, did some emotional release work to remove stresses around when I have had slows in my business, when I've done that self-sabotage, any guilt that I might have been holding around that self-sabotage, and any guilt that I was holding around being able to be successful and being able to make a lot of money, and changing my beliefs around the kind of people that would be in my life when I had financial wealth, and also what my worth is and what people truly value about me. That people in my life value who I am, not what I am and what I have. This has created a significant shift in how I operate and how I work, and have had opportunities presented to me to go back into workplaces and take on employed roles or go and work in consulting capacities full time. And I've been able to much more comfortably, with much more ease and knowing and surety, stay in flow with what it is that I'm doing. This has given me so much more fulfillment than what it was that I was doing previously. Before we continue with the next part of the show, if what I've shared with you today is resonating with you, leave a review. It goes a long way to help share the love with others who are going through the same things and would benefit from the tips and tools to turn on their inner glow. Another way to share the love is by making a donation at patreon.com/stepping into you to share your love with me and with others. Now, I said I would share some client stories with you as well to draw some parallels and give some other examples of how our beliefs around money can really impact the way that we show up in our own worlds. Now, one example is of a client who was experiencing incredible amount of guilt in spending money on herself, running a successful business, incredibly generous person when it came to spending money on other people. But the second there was a purchase made for herself, so a treat or some clothes, maybe a dinner out, there was guilt attached to it. And through discussion, my client recognized that this is what she'd witnessed when she was growing up. There wasn't a lot of her parents spending on themselves. It was spending for the family or for the children and for extended family members, but not for themselves. So it didn't feel right for her to be doing any spending for herself when she, in inverted commas, should be only spending on other people. So we did some change work around this at that subconscious level, to change the beliefs around what it was to spend money on yourself, that she was worthy to spend money on herself, she deserved to spend money on herself, and that it was safe and okay for her to do that, amongst many other ones. And also removing and shifting the state of guilt into safe, peace, non-attachment, and that there was flow, that when she spent money on herself, it was a gift and she would attract more money. So there was lots of beautiful beliefs and energy shifts that we created. And it was wonderful to hear her progress following that a couple of weeks, 2 to 4 weeks later, that she had spent money on herself and actually had then realized after doing it that she hadn't actually had those guilt pangs, which is really showing that she's stepped into a state of flow within herself and created more ease for herself to show up in her own world for her. Okay, so it's time for that super practical and easy tip. Now, I promise this is going to be really worthwhile doing, and commit yourself to doing it for 7 days straight. It'll only take you 5 minutes each day. And this is going to help you create a level of awareness around why it is that you want money. And through this, we're going to start to identify what limiting beliefs we have around money. Because once we understand why we want it, we can start to create supportive subconscious beliefs around what is aligned to why we want it. For example, for most people, they want more money so they can experience freedom. They want to be able to be free to do what they want, when they want, and how they want. They want to be able to be free to enjoy eating wherever they want to, going to whatever activities that it is that they want to. They want to be free to be able to spend time with their families whenever they want to. It's not the money that most people crave, it's the freedom. So when we understand that and have a level of awareness around that, it can really open up what we can explore at the subconscious belief level to program in and create some emotional flow towards. So here's the tip. For the next 7 days, you're going to be putting pen to paper for 5 minutes at a time. So it's only 5 minutes each day for 7 days. Set the timer on your phone or on your alarm clock so that you can be completely focused for the 5 minutes during the activity. So you're going to start the timer and you're going to write at the top of your piece of paper, your workbook, your journal, why do I want money? And then you're going to write without stopping for the rest of the 5 minutes. And then you're going to write without stopping until your timer goes off. Even if you're writing, I don't know what to write, keep going. You might end up writing, I don't know what to write, I don't know what to write, I don't know what to write, and then some random thought will pop into your head. But try and keep your mind focused on why do I want money? The frequency and consistency is what will give your inner voice the space to communicate. This practice is powerfully revealing when done with complete presence and having zero expectations, and most importantly, and I can't stress this enough, with no judgment. So for the next 7 days, 5 minutes each day, put your timer on and put your pen to paper and write down, why do I want money? And go for 5 minutes. Drop me a message on Instagram or send me an email and let me know what your inner wisdom revealed to you. Be sure to join me next week for episode 5, Staring Death in the Face, where we'll be talking about death and encounters with death and how to create more allowance and trust so you can let go of fear and begin to live more. Thanks for joining me today, and be sure to subscribe at steppingintoyou.com/innerglow so you don't miss any glowing possibilities. And if you'd love to support Inner Glow, you can make a donation at patreon.com/innerglow. Sending you love, hugs, and magic.